Hey everyone, Seth Jones here along with Chad Nuss at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. And it has been an amazing week here at the Academy and Studio, and we cannot wait to talk to you about it and share some of these things with you. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, as amazing as this week was, next week is going to be even more spectacular. So we're going to be painting and drawing today. If you've joined us in the past, thank you for joining us again. Chad and I just get really, really excited about working with these pieces in front of you guys and with you guys. Grab your pencils, grab your paints. Just sit down and enjoy some artwork time. Hopefully you're going to draw and paint with us or ask questions and communicate. We're so glad you guys are joining us today. Chad, how are you feeling about today's session, brother?
Man, I'm really looking forward to it. I enjoyed doing it solo last Saturday, but I definitely missed having you there. So I'm really excited that we're both fun here together for sure.
Well, I'm excited as well, and I'm hoping, because this has been standing in front of me all week, almost for 2 weeks now, and I haven't been able to complete the grisaille on this. So I'm really looking forward to getting this grisaille hopefully done here on this session and then moving into color pretty soon. And I know that you've been doing a ton of work on your drawing. I mean, if you guys can see that, and I'll take it full screen so you guys can see this. Look at how gorgeous these lightning bolts are. It's absolutely amazing. Chad, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at with your piece?
Yeah, so the lightning bolts really, and I'll kind of zoom in here a little bit. The lightning bolts, I want to say, was kind of a fluke because I wasn't planning on doing lightning in this area. Instead, I was going to do kind of the clouds that you see there, but I was going to do more of a wall of clouds coming over the mountains. And I just started putting in some gray tone as kind of like a base layer. And then from there, I was going to layer on darker clouds over top and put in some hail and things like that. Well, I finished putting in all the gray, and I took a photograph of it home, kept looking at it, just thinking more about it. And I noticed there was just this really nice, almost marble effect with the vine charcoal. And this mountain here I had left unfinished. And so put those two together, and I was like, it would look really nice if it was actually lightning in where all those like natural kind of cracks were. And then I got to thinking, well, I could leave this mountain halfway unfinished because it looks like the mountain is getting electrocuted. And I thought, man, that's such, we talk about those happy little accidents or those mistakes you make. This was a huge mistake that actually turned out to be an amazing, I think it really added so much more to the piece. I was going back and forth on what I was going to do with this specifically. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I had actually started on this mountain, but I had put it over here. And the more I looked at it, I thought, with having it right in the center, it just really took away from like this being a very expansive area. So I almost took it way out. And so I started erasing and moving some things around. And then I thought, well, I'll just maybe make the mountain side a little bit higher over here. And my facing mark just naturally had this kind of mountainous look to it. And so I thought, well, I'll just keep the mountain there, put some lightning coming up, I'll work on some clouds, get some variation, and here we are. So I'm super excited about it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it was awesome because it didn't take like a super long time. So I was able to get like a big chunk done pretty quickly. And now I'm up into the corner part where I'm doing an avalanche of boulders and rocks. So that would probably take a little bit longer. It's got a lot of detail, and I was looking forward to getting to that part. So yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think it's looking phenomenal right now. And guys, it has been an incredibly busy week here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. We have started our second round of 8-week courses. And Chad, it has just been, these classes and these students, it's amazing to see the quality of work that they're producing. And it's so much fun to see that community grow and build. So you want to tell us a little bit about what classes you teach throughout the week and which one has, I know that they've all surprised you unbelievably well, but what's something that maybe has jumped out to you through these classes? Because you're teaching, I think, 5 different courses this week. And tell us a little bit about those courses and something that maybe jumped out to you that you just were so excited about.
Yeah, so it's 5 courses, but it actually turns out to be 6 because one of the courses I'm doing for teenagers and then one for adults. And so it's been amazing. Like, I love this place. I love being here. I love my wife and my kids, but I kind of joked to myself, if I could move a bed in here, cot, I would love to stay here. In reality, it is really an amazing place to be. I love that my kids come with me and hang out here. I love the students that are here. I love working with you. I love having a studio space. It's just, you walk in and I don't know, you feel like a real artist. Like, I know that's kind of a funny thing to say because you don't need a studio space. You don't need to teach, you need all that stuff to be an artist. You can just go create. But there's just something about being in a place with other artists, being able to teach, being able to work on your own art, being mutually encouraged about that. That's super exciting. So as far as class goes, yeah, so I'm teaching Drawing 101, drawing from reference casts, life drawing, cartoon and comics, and character design. And out of all of them, I think the biggest surprise, I would say, would be the drawing from reference casts, because that's a new class that we didn't have last time around. It's something that we briefly discussed, and so we've just, I don't want to say it's on the fly, but it's one of those that it's just now developing, and it's gone really well. And the students have really taken to the class and have really worked hard, and have, because of putting in the work, you've seen a lot of improvement in what they're doing, and they're excited about it. Like, they go home. I don't like require homework. I suggest it. They come back having done all the homework, which is just amazing. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that class. There's some students off the top of my head in the other classes that really are just phenomenal. Just those are, you love pouring your life into other students, seeing them develop. So I'm really excited about that. And then the cartoon and comics class on Friday nights. We've got a bunch of teenage girls there, me, and it's just, we have so much fun, like talking about comic books and characters, and I try to keep it fun and with different activities and exercises for them to do. So it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, it's been a good week.
I think that's something for me that is probably one of the most exciting things has been that one teenage age range, the teen art track of the comics cartooning, because every single student in that class is just spectacular. I mean, their work just blows me away, but it's that sense of community, right, Chad? It's that sense of, some of these young artists have been kind of working alone, right? They haven't been around other artists of their level, of their skill level, or their passion. They may have a couple of friends in school, but we have a lot of students that are hybrid learning environments, right? We've got a lot of homeschool students. We've got a lot of, dual enrollment students. And to see them come together, I joke, I'm like, it's a superhero team. I'm like, this group is just like amazing to see them all come together, produce work. And you know what's really amazing to me, Chad, and I think this is a testament to those young adults. They're all so positive with each other. They are just so encouraging, so positive. You think that maybe there's a little bit of competitiveness, which maybe there is. Maybe that's hidden underneath there. But boy, they are just so reassuring to each other, so positive, so encouraging. And I almost teared up the other night watching them. I was teaching a class and they walked past, and you hear them talking, and they're like, "That was so cool. This was great." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" It's that true sense of community that we've wanted to build here, and that we are building here. And I think that's really what stands out to me.
Yeah, it's. I was actually just talking to my wife about that. How you're in this class all together, and you don't get any sarcasm or anything like that. If someone says something and they feel unsure about themselves, one of the other girls will be like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea," super encouraging. And yeah, that's just so wonderful to see. Then we'll do an exercise or a drawing, and then I'll have them lay it out on the table, and then everyone walk around and look at each other's drawing. It's just so fun to hear them react to each other. They'll see one, they're like, "Oh, look at this one. Oh, look at this one." And it's every progressive one they see, they get more and more excited. And it's just so cool to be to imagine myself if I were their age and have other people stuff excited. How encouraging is that? So it's been nice.
Yeah, well, and that's, that was something that Thomas and I talked about 5 years ago. I think, something along those lines of, what would it have been like to have been able to be surrounded by like-minded individuals and people that had that talent and that passion, it would have only made you a better artist sooner, if that makes sense. We would have reached certain levels a lot earlier in our creative journeys. And I think that's just incredibly exhilarating. And speaking of creative journeys, Chad, we have the utmost amazing week coming up here at VAAS. And not only does it just start with our classes and our courses that we run pretty much every week, guys and gals, but we have an incredibly talented ballet dancer joining us for Thursday night life drawing. Natalie Schreiner is going to be joining us on Thursday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. for drop-in life drawing. And Chad, we've had some pretty daggone good models these last few weeks. I'm not going to lie. The male model for these drop-in drawing sessions has been spectacular. In case you guys didn't know, it's been me these last few weeks. But it's amazing that we're going to have her come in. She's a phenomenal, talented artist. She's a phenomenally talented ballet dancer. And boy, how excited are you to have such a good model coming in for our artistic community this coming Thursday?
Well, it's crazy because in my figure drawing class, I literally use pictures of ballerinas or ballet dancers as models for them to, as references for them to draw from, because ballet dancers and athletes and, you know, people that are involved in some kind of like physical activity like that really provide so many opportunities to learn the human figure, learn motion, weight, learn proportion, all of those things. So to have someone here live doing that is going to be incredible.
I couldn't agree more. And guys and gals, if you haven't joined us for those Thursday night drop-in sessions, we do everything from 60-second quick gestural poses. We do 3-minute poses, 15-minute poses, and much to my aging body, 1 hour long poses. But it's a phenomenal way. And we've got everybody, Chad, coming from, we've got individuals that have never, ever done a life drawing session. We've got people who have been doing it, I mean, consistently for the last 20, 25 years. Terry, if you're watching, phenomenal work. We've got it up on the wall here. But it's okay if you've never done it. That's all right. This is a great session. Chad does a phenomenal job of kind of coaching you up on quick gestural drawings. It's a great way to come in and experience a community and a great session with a great model coming up Thursday night. So again, this coming Thursday, I think it's the 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. And if you're not here locally, we are working on getting these posted live. I don't know when that's going to happen, guys and gals, but a future vision plan is to get these posted live so that you can join us no matter where you're at in the world, and you can get some drawing in, get some experience in with these drawing sessions. Drawing from life, Chad, and I know you teach this life drawing course this semester, but drawing from the human figure, right, is, I think, one of the most exceptional ways to learn to draw anything. What are your thoughts? Why is the human figure such a strong thing to learn from? Because almost all teachers, all instructors, right, almost all art universities, art programs, they encourage you to draw from the human form. You know, and I don't know if we talk enough about why we do that. Why do we encourage people to draw from life so much?
Yeah, and the thing I tell students all the time is that if you can draw the human form, you can draw anything. Because every technique and approach that you use in, say, drawing a landscape or a still life or just things around your house, whatever, you're going to learn drawing humans or drawing human figure. The challenge of a human figure is that we see them so much that I instantly recognizes if the human figure is out of proportion, if it's not shaped right, if there's something off. So it really trains you to be able to draw accurately. Now, no doubt there's a place for abstraction and exaggeration, all that. But what I'm talking about is just plain learning the skill and the technique of drawing from life so that it is accurate, realistic, and in proportion. And all those same skills you're going to use, like we talk about in our figure drawing class, how you measure with a pencil to learn proportion, how you use the size of the head as a measurement tool for the rest of the body, how you use a gesture drawing to capture the motion and the pose of the figure, how you stay loose and build form and sculpt a figure on the paper. You know, we talk about all those things. But then when you, for that, like drawing a still life or drawing an animal or a plant or something like that, you're using all those same things. You're going to start with basic shapes and forms. You're going to basically do a gesture drawing when you're drawing a still life. And then you're going to build off that with shapes and forms. And you're going to finish with contour drawing. It's the same thing with figures. You're going to learn all that drawing a human figure, and your drawing in every other area is drastically improved. It's so funny, people. The most common thing I hear from people is when they say, I can't even draw a stick figure.
Yeah.
I tell people you can, and if you can learn to draw a stick figure, you can learn to draw the human figure, because once you master the stick figure, everything's built off that.
Right.
And even more than that, if you can locate a person's spine when you draw a figure, everything is built off the spine. Wherever you go, the spine is going to lead that way. It's going to lean a certain way. If you can capture that, everything built off that is going to look phenomenal. And so
I agree.
I love that class because it is, as we're talking about, applicable to so many other areas of our art practice. So yeah, yep.
I just want to give a quick shout. BJ Levis, thanks for joining us. Jones Eliana, thanks for joining. Marie 121559. I don't know if I got those numbers correct. They're a little small. Thanks for jumping in and joining us. All of you guys, thanks for sharing this experience with us. Again, I'm Seth Jones, Chad Nuss here at the Visual Arts Academy, and we're talking about drawing the human figure currently, which I am painting a portrait of my daughter. Chad's doing a beautiful landscape. But this week in our drop-in drawing sessions, we are very fortunate to get to draw a ballet dancer, Natalie Schreiner, this week. We're so excited to get to have her come in and model for us. But that's not all we got going on this week. We've got, I think, 16 classes happening this coming week, which we're so incredibly excited about. And then, Chad, next weekend, we may be changing it up a little bit, and we might have a couple of guests joining us here on the live session. And it's really exciting for me. I'll tell you guys here in a while, but I'm going to give you a little teaser. It goes back almost 20-some-odd years for me to get these two gentlemen to join us, and they are two exceptional artists. Chad, I know you've seen a little bit of their work, but how excited are you to have them join the VAAS live session here?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Like I looked at the work, like some of it, like your friend that's doing the sculpture, it's like in like a public works, like commissions that are appear on the street. That level of artistry is just incredible. And same with your other friend who I think painted all the soldiers' portraits.
Right. Yep.
And that was publicly installed. So we're talking about some high caliber artists. And that's what I love to hear, because as I said in the opening, I love this place. So the idea that we can have artists of that caliber on with us is a huge honor. It's a bit intimidating, and but very exciting to learn from people with so much experience and talent, for sure.
So I guess I'll go ahead and spill the beans on it. We've got a few viewers. Next week, the plan is to have artist Mitchell Kaufman. If you see, check him on Instagram, check him on his social medias. Artist Mitchell Kaufman out of New York City joining us. He's going to be probably doing some of his oil painting techniques, some of his work. If you want to check him out, check him out. I'll try here in a minute to get some of his handles on here for you guys. But then we also have artist Charles Pate out of South Carolina joining us, who, as Chad mentioned, runs a gallery and a studio, but also does sculpture, oil paintings, true masters of the different craft. They're going to be joining us next weekend on Saturday evening, 6 to 8 here on the Visual Arts Academy in Studio Live. And so, again, that's Mitchell Kaufman. You can find him on Instagram, on all these different social media platforms, and artist Charles Pate. And what's really neat about this, Chad, is part of the reason we go back 20 years, we went to university together. So they attended the Savannah College of art and design with me. And we went through all of our degrees together, and we got to experience some of the same master teachers. We got to experience a lot of the same training and opportunities. But even more than that, this is something that I think is incredibly powerful. You've heard me talk about the athletic side, right? Both of these amazing artists were also athletes with me on our lacrosse team. In fact, they were some of the founding gentlemen that founded the lacrosse team over there at SCAD, and we are so honored and excited to have them. We go way, way back. Not only did I sweat and bleed with these gentlemen, I got covered in paint and got harassed by art professors with them. So we covered the whole spectrum of going through life together for those collegiate years. I'm so excited. We're really looking forward to have Mitchell Kaufman and Charles Pate join us next weekend. It's going to be a really special live session, guys. So make sure you put it on your calendar. Make sure you put a reminder on your phone, because you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a phenomenal, phenomenal experience.
I can't wait to just ask them what type of person you were back in college.
Oh, that may not be good. We may not want to go there. No, I'm kidding. No, they're wonderful. I'm joking, of course, but no, you'll find that their personalities are so vastly different. But it's great because you're going to see that their personalities are different, but their artwork is different as well. And Charles has done, as you mentioned, he's done some amazing portrait work. He's done a lot of clay sculpture, full-size sculpture that is in parks and museums. And he's done just an amazing amount of tremendous. But not only that, Chad, Charles Pate has, or I call him Chuck, he's actually done a children's book. He's working on a children's comic book series. He's a father, he's a wonderful man, and he's just exposed to all of these unique situations, environments, and he's a master of multiple mediums. And so I can't wait to see. He hasn't told me if he's going to be painting yet, guys, or if he's going to be sculpting. Part of me kind of hopes he gets to sculpt. I think you will be blown away by his sculpting ability and kind of what he's got. But we're just going to talk to these guys. And then Mitch is so dynamic. He's out in New York. He's a fitness guru. He's probably one of the most chiseled men you've ever seen in your life. And he's a script writer, a storyteller. He does all these amazing things. And it's just, as you and I have talked about, Chad, it's about building that artistic community, right? It's about building that connectedness. It's about building relationships. And that's one of the things that we're so incredibly excited about. And it's going to be amazing. And if I'm talking about SCAD, Chad, should I go ahead and mention what else we've got coming up in the next month and in the next 6 months?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
So obviously, SCAD is my alma mater. If you're not familiar with it, it's the Savannah College of Art and Design. I happen to think it's one of the world's premier art institutions. It's phenomenal. I received my bachelor's degree and my master's degree from there. SCAD is going to be visiting us at the end of February. So if you're any of our teenage students or family members that are interested in continuing your education past VAAS or going into a degree-seeking individual, or if you just want to get some ideas of outside perspective of master artists, they're going to be visiting us at the end of February. And then I'm hoping we might even be able to do some portfolio reviews, some lectures, some talks. We're going to have some of that stuff take place at the end of July or at the middle of July at some point. So when I say we've got a lot going on, Chad, buddy, I mean, we've got a lot going on. It's happening around here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio.
That's amazing. I'm blown away. I mean, seriously. Especially considering, like, I remember walking in this place over the summer before the renovations when I first met you. To see it from there within 5 or 6 months to be like the number of enrollments that we have, the amount of excitement we have, the number of classes we offer, and now to have one of the finest institutions being interested in what we're doing and having these amazing world-class artists to be on our live stream. I mean, seriously, like, that's beyond whatever I've imagined. So it's incredible.
Well, and I think it just, you and I have talked about this a lot. Thomas and I have spent a lifetime together as friends talking about this. To me, it shows how much the arts mean to people, right? Whether you're, we have a lot of adults that have come in and you've heard these stories. I need a break from my job. I need something to calm me down. I need some relaxation. Art is therapy for me. This is a break for me. This is something I get to do. It's, it's a way for me to escape, because of my routine is tough. Or I used to paint and draw when I was in college, or I painted and draw when I was a kid. We have so many people that are coming back to it because I think all of this excitement and energy shows whether you're a 5 or 6-year-old, which, by the way, 2 of my 5-year-old students that come in and take an intro to art class, it is the most amazing thing to see how excited they get, right? When they're screaming, "This is the best apple I've ever drawn," or like they draw like a dog, and it's amazing to see that. But it's also just incredibly rewarding when you have a lot of these adults, that are a little bit more seasoned in life, and they've come back and they go, "Man, I've missed this. I have missed drawing. Yeah. I've missed painting. It's been so long since I've had this kind of excitement and energy." And I think that what we've proven in the last 3 to 4 months is art is for everyone. You've heard me say this so many times. If you join any of these live streams, art is for everyone. Even if you're a brand new beginner, Brendan, if you're watching, if you're joining us, bud, it's okay to come in and get started and dive in, whether you've painted before or not. It's great to pick up that brush. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years old. It doesn't matter if you're 105 years old. Art is for everybody. And I think the energy and excitement that you just talked about, Chad, proves it. I truly believe it proves it because people know that art is important in their life and they're getting a chance to experience it. And how lucky are we that we just get to provide a service to people and even just get to paint with you guys live here on the live session. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, I had one of my adult students said that very thing that you were talking about, that when she gets home, she took her sketchbook with her that we worked on in class. I gave her a few extra things to work on through the week. And she came back the next week and talked about how she spent so much time drawing because it was like meditation or relaxation for us. You can kind of zone out, and it was so relaxing. And this is someone that's in the business world and has a lot of responsibility, and so it's awesome that art does that for her. And then to see her excitement coming back into the class and learning more, just that it's, as you said, it's never too late to start. It's always you don't have to wait for a particular season in your life. You can always start wherever, even if you're brand new. I love when we do the live sessions on Thursday for the figure drawing. Someone comes in and has never drawn a figure before, a human figure before. It's amazing. I love to see that. I think they feel a bit intimidated by it because everyone can see what everyone else is drawing, but it's such a mutually encouraging community that that doesn't matter. If everyone knows, like, if this is your first time that you've ever drawn a figure, they know they're not going to expect you to be able to draw like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or Picasso or whatever. Like, they're going to know it's going to take some time, and they're so encouraging to each other to say, like, like to say, man, that's awesome. Like, you came in here, that's great. Not a lot of people would. They'd be too scared, but you came in and you did it. And 99% of the time, those same people will come back because of the experience they had in taking a step out of their comfort zone. So I love being a part of that, for sure.
Absolutely. I just want to give a couple of shout outs again. John Rechtenwald, thanks for, I think I've got that right. I hope I got that right. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for joining. Everybody on all of our different streaming platforms, thanks for giving us a like, a share, a follow. We do this every Saturday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. We're joining in with a whole bunch of different artists. We're just painting with you guys. I hope you have your sketchbook out. I hope you have an easel in front of you. Tell us what you're working on. Give us a shout out. Let us know you're here. We love it when you ask questions about our work or ask questions about our technique, our processes. We're here to communicate with you guys and share it. We've had people from all around the globe, Chad. It's been an amazing experience. And I think one of the things that I get really, really passionate and excited about is the fact that these live streams reach everywhere. It's because we have a physical academy and studio, which we know that, we have people driving from 45 minutes an hour away, but there's a lot of people that can't come be part of this community, right? But via the live stream, you get to be a part of this community. And I just get so exhilarated by that. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I have just lost what brush. There it is. Sorry. I lost my brush for a second. I found it back. Nope,
so you asked me about what I'm working on. You didn't share what you're working on. So give us an update on yours.
Well, I've still been working on this portrait. The last couple of weeks when we started our new classes, I've been working on this portrait of my daughter. This is the grisaille, which I am now appropriately saying thanks to Chad and some French-speaking individuals. But basically, it's an underpainting where I'm doing all my values with raw umber and white. And then as I finish this, I'm going to come back in with oil glazes, and I'm going to glaze my color on top. And so you'll see, hopefully, maybe next weekend, maybe the weekend after, I'm going to be able to start layering on some color here and really put some of that in. And I think it's going to be interesting next week because we do have two individuals joining us, Mitchell Kaufman and Charles Pate, that are oil painters. So, Chad, they're going to have a different take on how they process their work, how they work through their work. And I'm excited to see. I'm kind of nervous, honestly, because I hold them in such high regard as people and as artists that I'm curious to see what they think of my process here with my grisaille, because I know they've done exceptional ones. So part of it, guys and gals, it's putting yourself out there too. But this is where I'm currently working at that. Believe it or not, though, I have done a lot of other work. Maybe I'll go grab it and show you guys. I've done some watercolor work. I've been doing some drawing and character design work. I've done a lot of different things because as we teach these classes, Chad, you and I do a lot of work with our students, right? You and I produce alongside them and coach them and show them demos and examples. So we're producing a lot of work along with our students. I mean, isn't that fun, though, to like work alongside your students and show them? But then also for you, we get to paint and draw along with them, and it's great.
Yeah, I think it's super helpful for them. Like even today in my figure drawing class, we were talking about shortening, which, as you know, and most people that have tried it, is incredibly difficult, and incredibly difficult if you've never done it before. Understand and so one of the girls in class, I had given her an example of it was a photograph people doing various poses where there's foreshortening involved. And she was looking at these photos and she's like, hey, she tried. I saw in her sketchbook, she kept putting a big X over her drawing. And I asked her later, like, why she was doing that. And she said she just couldn't write. And I noticed right about that time, she was like, hey, Chad, can you draw this? Like, can you sketch it out and show us how you go about doing it?
Absolutely.
And so it was a great time, and hopefully it was helpful for them. And it's wonderful. It's a blessing for me to be able to draw with them. And I think also my cast drawing class, we're just starting now. This is the third week for one of the students, and we're now getting into actually cast drawing. So before the first 2 weeks, we talked about value scale, form, shading, and highlights, and using a pencil, the different grades of pencil, all of that. And did some with cast drawings themselves and like drawing from drawings. But now we're getting into actually drawing from casts. And so set up 2 easels next to each other, put the cast in between us, and drew together. And so we could look off each other's work. And it was an amazing time for me, having drawn for like forever, it feels like, for like 30 plus years, and to stand next to a teenager who's probably, that I know for a fact has never drawn from a cast, was just an amazing experience. And me, the teacher, it's just as awesome as it is for the student, because the opportunity for you to pour yourself into someone else is just an amazing blessing. And like you said, it's amazing that we get to do this on a live session, but also throughout the week with our students.
Oh man, here's a great question. We got a good one. Chad, I'll let you answer this one. I'm going to put it up on the screen for everybody. Hey, Susanna, thank you for joining us, and thanks for the great question. You're always so wonderful. And also, too, Ellie is asked for me to show some of that work. So, Chad, I'm going to let you answer this question. I'm going to step away and go get some of that work so I can bring it back. But how did the cartoon class? So, Susanna has a daughter here who's an exceptional artist. She's taking classes. And I mentioned we had a phenomenal cartoon class the other night. And so she wants to know how that went, Chad. So I'm going to take you full screen here, but I'm going to go grab some pieces.
Yeah, so the cartoon class last night was amazing. And the reason why it was so amazing is because we talked a little bit about the cartoon class earlier in our live stream, and we talked about how all the girls were like mutually encouraging to one another. And it was the same last night, even more so. Like, they came in really excited, and then when they heard what we were going to do, they just were like over the top. So last night for our cartoon class, we talked about different character types. So we talked about like protagonist, antagonist, sidekick, mentor, love interest, those types of characters. And then after that, we went into 12 archetypes. And so archetypes are a little bit different than types. Types are like main categories. And then, archetypes are kind of characteristics that any of those types could have. So archetypes are things like everyman or magician or creator, or these are just some of the ones I'm thinking off the top of my head. But you could have a type. Sorry, this is a long explanation. I'm getting to it. But you can have a type like a protagonist that is magician. You can have an antagonist magician. So anyways, all that to say, our first exercise, I said, okay, we are going to create a character together as a class. And so I picked what the type is going to be, the archetype, and then each person had to contribute like a personality detail, a physical appearance detail, and then a small just kind of detail, like a side detail or whatever. And so we picked, like, it was an antagonist, it was a magician, and then there was all kinds of little things like a spiked belt, long greasy hair, short and stocky, a tailcoat, and a staff, jewel on it, and all that kind of stuff. So anyways,
I like the tailcoat.
Yeah. So then I had them each draw that character. Then once they're done, then we all got up and looked at each other's drawings, and they all look different, even though they had the same characteristics. And so it's just so awesome when they get up, they see each other's work, and they literally are like, oh, wow, look at that. They're so excited about each other's work. And that makes them, really for themselves, encourages them and puts a fire in them to continue to draw. So after we did that, then I had them create their own characters. And we're going to work on character turnaround sheets where you see the character from different angles. And so I told them these first 2 weeks we work on characters, and then after that next week we get into storytelling, and then comic strip format, comic book, and on and on. But yeah, it was so exciting, and it's fun because while they were drawing a character, I was drawing a character as well. And it was fun as I'm drawing to listen to them laugh and like make jokes with each other. And we've never ever had a moment where someone was like being sarcastic. If there was ever someone that was like hesitant to speak or really shy, the other girls would like encourage them. Like even if they said something small or quiet, the other girls would be like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome," and they would just like build off each other. It was just so awesome. So that is one of those classes. I mean, I love all my classes, but I really look forward to that class because of the excitement of all the girls, all that they're doing, and working so hard to learn the craft. So it was awesome for sure.
Like I said, Chad, superhero squad.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm amazed at some of the young artists that we have. It's phenomenal. It's such a wonderful experience, and it's amazing to see the work. I did Wyatt C. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's absolutely amazing. And Chad, I love seeing those classes come together because sometimes as an instructor, you go, boy, am I creating enough energy? Am I creating enough excitement? Am I creating a special, unique experience for our students? And that's one of the things that we really focus on here is we want students to grow and develop as artists, right? At any age level, right, Chad? Any age level. But we want to provide a phenomenal art experience because we've heard it, you've heard it, where we've heard, well, this teacher wasn't kind of nice to me in middle school or high school, or I had a college professor that kind of turned me away from it. We want to create a phenomenal art experience for people of all ages and all skill levels. And that's really been a lot of fun. And so just to make Eliana happy, I'm going to show some of the, because, a lot of times you and I don't get to work on our personal work because you're teaching 6 classes. I think I'm teaching 14, right? And so this is what's really neat, but I'll show you. So for my illustration 101, Chad, we had a section, right? We do a section on character designs.
Go full screen so we can see them.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Hey, thanks for giving me the heads up. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm holding like multiple things, guys. I'm juggling here. Thank you for letting me juggle. So we're gonna see if we can do this here. So as I talk through this, so this lesson in the 8-week course is about character design because we know, Chad, we have a full-blown 8-week class on character design, character development, and you dive in deep, really deep into those different character archetypes and attributes and relationships and storytelling. And in the illustration 101, we do a character rotation, and you have to develop a character very quickly. And so she said, I wanted to create a character that has panda attributes. And this is what I quickly sketched. And I wish I had hers. Hers was exceptional as well. But I think I was pretty heavily influenced by Avatar, The Last Airbender. My kids had it up on the screen, and this makes me think of the Northern Water Tribe a little bit. But this is what I'm working on there. I also teach a watercolor technique for illustration. And this is one of the ones that I've got. I've got to get it finished. But this is one of the ones that I'm working on. Came up with the concept of a giraffe rider. So essentially, I'll be doing some watercolor work there. And then I have an amazing group of ladies that are taking our watercolor class, Chad. And these are some of the pieces. So we worked on one of these here, which is a pear and a piece of bread. And we're working on layering and texturing and building up washes. So this is pretty early on in the watercolor class, week 2, but we're working through that. And then we do this. We do this landscape in watercolor as well. But awesome. One of the things sorry, Chad, go ahead.
No, I was just giving you compliments.
Oh, well, thanks. I'll stop talking if you want to give some more of those out. But the thing I'm probably most proud of, Chad, is my adult drawing 101 class. And we were working on drawing using tick marks and measurements and comparisons to accurately figure out the distances between shapes and forms. And so one of the things I got really, really excited about is this here, which looks, if you guys know Chad and I, this looks more like a Chad drawing than a Seth drawing. And so I'm going to rub it in Chad's face a little bit and be like, hey, here's this. It turned out pretty good, my friend.
It did. It looks great. It looks great.
But it is one of those moments where you kind of go in the middle of class, because you're demoing very quick, right? You're going very fast, and you go, oh boy, that turned out really good. And then you look at the students' faces and they're like, I hate you. I can't believe you just did that. I've been drawing this for an hour and a half. But it's really, Ellie, thanks for the question. Thanks for asking to see some of the work. But it is really great, even if we're not working on some of our, oh, that was really loud. Even if we're not working on some of our specific pieces that we're trying to complete, it's amazing that we get to create and paint along with our students. So it's really a fun experience. It's really awesome. I do want to give, thank you, Ellie. She goes, those are so awesome. And I thank you very much, Ellie. That is a wonderful compliment. We really appreciate it. I do also like Susanna's last comment. I don't know if you can see that, Chad, but she goes, she agrees with us because kids they're not getting that sense of community. I think she's referencing the community. They're not getting that at school anymore. They're not getting the technique development. A lot of schools have cut funding for the visual arts, right? They have creative spaces. They have some, and some schools still have it. But we've seen this, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've seen that the visual arts, the fine arts, have been defunded quite a bit in schools. And a lot of kids are not getting exposed to drawing and painting and sculpting and a lot of fine artwork as early as they used to maybe 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've heard it just yesterday in the cartoon class. They were talking about their different experiences at school when it comes to art, and the majority of them said they don't have art class anymore. So it's crazy, but I mean, like, well, good for us. I mean, they can come over here.
We have a community for you. We have a place that you can come and be a part of it and learn and get excited, right?
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is, and I know that, Thomas and Zach and Michelle, they all agree with you and I, Chad, which is, it's an opportunity for kids to get to experience what they are passionate about and what they love. It's no different than getting to play football or baseball or soccer or tennis. It's no different than getting to do theater classes, right? Which we're so fortunate we get to run some theater classes out of here as well. One of the things that I'm always saying too is it could be something like chess, right? It could be a debate team. It could be something along those lines. And I think just for young adults, those young kids and young adults and teens to be able to follow a passion or a skill that they have, it's something that is just incredible, right? It's just something that is just something that that is really, really exciting. And what's great here is we just got 2 comments, Chad. Let's talk about these really quickly, because we're getting 2 sides of the spectrum here on these art classes. We've got one comment that says, correct, our school does not have art at all. At all. But then I have another comment that says, my school has a great art room, but she's not really being taught. I'm just given assignments. So not only does it have a great facility, but they're not getting the level of instruction. And so, that's kind of a double-edged sword, right? One is not getting anything at all. The other one is perhaps not getting the level of instruction that they need because their skill sets are beyond maybe that of the instructor, right? And so it is something that we're seeing change throughout the country. We're seeing it change throughout everywhere. And it's just a unique situation. And we're so fortunate. We're so lucky that the Visual Arts Academy and Studio is a place where we can teach and learn and expand knowledge for people of all ages. And we're so excited to be here. I had a moment today, Chad, where I was absolutely blown away. You want to hear about it?
I would love to.
Absolutely. So I'm teaching. Sorry, go ahead.
I see when you said that, I have a little side comment about chess, but go ahead.
Well, so I had a moment today where I was absolutely blown away, and we're talking about child education, right? And childhood development and brain development and functioning. I have a student who's taking an acrylics painting class, and I think she's approximately 8 years old, maybe 9 years old. And we're talking, and she's literally going, she goes, oh, Van Gogh's work was so amazing. I love his impasto style. And she goes, I learned the word impasto from you last class. And I said, well, thank you. You used it very, very well. And I said, do you remember what language that is? And she goes, yes, it's Italian. And I go, that's amazing. And she goes, yes, I speak 3 languages. And I'm going, oh. And she's like, well, and maybe a little bit French. I lived in France too for 3 years. And I'm like, what? You know, like it's so when you start to think, and this is something I get incredibly passionate about, when you think about giving small, and this goes back to, you know, a comment about the school maybe having a great art room and not great instruction. If you instruct at a high level, if you use the terminology, if you push the students, I don't care if they're 5, 6, 15, 20, 100, if you push and push, not so hard to where it's unbearable, but if you have high expectations of them, they will exceed them, such as an 8 or 9-year-old being able to speak 3 different languages, retaining words that aren't even in that specific language, understanding the importance of it. I think we can't, you and I think, are very passionate, and Thomas is very passionate about making sure that the level of instruction, to Ellie's comment, is at a high level, and people leave going, I learned something new today, and I learned something useful today. What are your thoughts on that? Because we want to create a fun, exciting environment and a great experience, right? But we also want to push our students to make sure that they develop as artists. Avatar Angel, thanks for joining. We're so excited you're here. Ask questions. Let us know you're here. But Chad, what are your thoughts on that? The level of pushing knowledge, expectations versus, well, we're just here to have fun.
Yeah, I always tell, on the first day of class, I always give everyone an outline of what to expect. And one of the things I say on there is that hard work makes drawing fun. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of kids come in and they think, oh, I like to do art. It's a lot of fun. I'm just here to have fun. And then they get into class and they have to draw some things that maybe they're not used to, or they didn't plan on, and then it doesn't seem that fun. But what I explain to them is the harder you work at drawing to learn more skills, the more fun drawing becomes. Because think about, why is drawing fun? Well, it's because you can do it. You typically will draw the things that you're comfortable with, you feel good about, you can produce it, and it looks great. It's a lot of fun. But in order to get there, you have to do a lot of practice, a lot of work goes into that. And I said, for example, if you don't know how to do landscape, you're probably not going to spend the time to do it because it's a lot of hard work. But imagine you put the hard work in and you learn how to do a landscape. Well, you can just draw a landscape like it's really easy. It becomes fun at that point. So I just talk about how hard work is the result of work is fun. And so you have to have a balance, like you said. You can't get to the point where you feel exasperated, where you don't even feel like you're accomplishing anything. You just want to quit art. That's not good. But at the same time, to just draw the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to grow that way. The key to real fun is a bit of hard work, and it's a bit of both. So that's kind of the approach I take in teaching. I know that's the approach you take as well. And I think it's an important point to remember, for sure.
Well, it's amazing that we just talked about that, Chad, because we have an amazing comment from Avatar Angel. Thanks for the comment and thanks for joining us. This is the question, and it's kind of a serious one. I'm not going to lie. It may not seem like a serious one to a lot of you guys watching and listening, but here it is. Any tips for an aspiring artist trying to come out of a block? Any tips for an aspiring artist trying to come out of a block? That's a great one. I've got a couple ideas. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. But Avatar Angel, thank you so much for that comment. There's a few things I can think of right away. Chad, I don't know if you have something that's ready to go, but I've got one. Do you want me to take it first?
You go first. I'm still thinking about that one.
So here's one of the things I would recommend, and I've actually gone through a few blocks in my life as well, where I've kind of, Chad talked about, you get frustrated or bored, or something's challenging, or it's, I've kind of hit a block of creativity. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. One of the things I would express is take a chance in exploring a new medium. So if you're a traditional draftsman, if you're a traditional painter, sometimes you can get into a block. Like, man, I've been working on this, I've been drawing this, I've been working on that. But it can be really good, Avatar Angel, to go and say, you know what, I've never really worked in chalk pastels. And you got to go in with the right mindset of, I know I'm not going to master something I've never done before, but it'll free you up to not feel expectations, right? If you're a young artist or a new artist or an aspiring artist and you've gotten to a block where you're like, man, I don't know how to work the oil paint anymore. I'm stuck. I can't quite render. Go into a new medium with no expectations. Go into a new medium with no expectations of I'm going to produce this or I'm going to produce that, and just have fun. Remember why you started working in your block medium to begin with, right? Remember why you did it. Was it to tell a story? Was it to create? Was it to just, like we've talked about some of our students, it's just to break away from the daily life and the daily grind. So try a new medium, do something different. And sometimes that may even not just be focused on a goal. It just may be, I'm going to sit down and for 30 minutes, I'm just going to put color on a piece of paper. I'm just going to splatter paint on a canvas. And I think, Avatar Angel, a lot of times what that does is that frees you up to find your way out of that block. I hope that makes sense. But a lot of times I encourage, and I've done this myself, I started doing it with watercolor. I hit a block with watercolor and I'm going, man, my layers just aren't there. Ask one of my students, Patricia, I'm sitting there going, I'm not patient enough. I'm not working layers. I've got to do something different. So then I picked up a whole different medium that I haven't worked with in a long time, oil pastels, and I just started putting color down. Chad, I saw you do this the other day at Life Drawing, right? Where you picked up some color chalk, I think, and you just threw color on the page and it was completely different. I think that can be exhilarating and liberating. And I think that can really help you kind of get out of that block. Don't be afraid to pick up a new medium with no expectations, no goal in mind, and just go back to having fun with it. And I think that can break you out of that block sometimes. Not always, but I think that's one technique you can use to get out of that block. Thoughts on that, Chad?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, for myself, I have I don't even know how many count right now, like 8 or 9 different artworks going on at the same time, all different medium, different size, different subject. So that helps keep it fresh for me. So that's one thing I would suggest is work on multiple things at the same time. Don't just focus in on one thing. Try some different things. Much like you just said, I would think, okay, if the last thing I drew was a comic book character, or the last thing I drew was a drawing of a flower, well, then I would pick something completely different. Try and draw a house, or try and paint a landscape, or try something different. The other thing I like to do is look at history, look at master artists from the past.
Oh, yeah.
And that for me gives me a lot of inspiration, because I'll look and see what they did, challenge myself to think, could I ever do that? I mean, why not? They were human. I'm human. Let's, I'll work towards that goal. The other thing, me personally, this might not apply to everyone, but for me personally, I think big picture. So I think, okay, as an artist, what is my ultimate goal? What am I trying to do and trying to achieve? So for me, the thesis of my life is that I create art that moves people to contemplate God. So I keep that at the forefront of my mind. That might not be your thing. You might have a completely different outlook on life, and that's totally fine. But you find that one thing that you're creating for. So for me, everything has to fit within that goal for me, or that thesis. If it doesn't, then I don't work on it. So I just did this the other day. I take an inventory of all the things that I'm working on, and I think to myself, is this striving towards that goal? Is it not? If it is, then I'll work on it. Some things are striving more towards it than others, so those being more priority. So yeah, I try. That's one approach. That might not work for everyone, but that's one thing I do. And then the other thing I do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go, please.
The last thing I was going to say was just setting a schedule. So for me, I don't follow this to the T. This past week, I did not at all, but I try to draw every single day. So I do, an hour a day. I try to complete a drawing a day, a drawing a week, a drawing a month, and a drawing a year. And I'm not always successful. That's not I'm not slave to it, but it's there as kind of a framework to remind me. So if I ever get in that place where I don't know what to draw, I know, okay, well, I've got several works going. I know which ones are the priority. I know I have a schedule, a weekly, a monthly, a yearly schedule. So when I put all that together, then I know when I sit down, I know what I'm going to work on. And that helps me. So what were you going to say, Seth?
Well, 2 things. One, I think that goes back to your hard work element, right? Like put in the work, sometimes persevering and pushing through. and putting in that hard work can help with that block as well, right? But I also think what's really interesting is I love it when you talk about your philosophy and your theory and everything, because as of late, and again, I don't want to speak for you, but I'd love for you to articulate this. You've been very heavily influenced by the writings of two great masters, or who we would refer to as masters. And in the last few months, as we've been working together and stuff, I feel like you've been very heavily influenced by those writings. And those writings are the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci, right? And then the letters of Vincent van Gogh. Has that kind of helped with your block? Has that helped with your motivation? Does it help with your philosophy of knowing, hey, this is what my goal is, this is my focus, and if it doesn't happen to go into that focus, I'm not going to pursue it? I mean, have those writings kind of pushed you and motivated you? Because for Avatar Angel, that may be something else. Pick up a good biography, pick up a good book, pick up a good, art reference book or something along those lines. That may help you get out of that funk as well.
Yeah, 100%. I love reading journals and notebooks from other artists. So yeah, I read the letters of Vincent van Gogh, and I looked through the notebooks. I haven't read it completely, the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci, because some of it gets like super technical, and it's not really that interesting, to be honest with you. But there's a lot of other things that are in there that give insight to his practice. But what I'm reading right now is the journals of Eugene Delacroix. I think that's how you say his name. And that's been really inspirational too. It's just fun to see like their daily life or weekly life as they write these letters or journal entries, and just some of the things they were thinking. So like in the journals that I'm reading right now, you hear about Delacroix, how he would go to different museums and visit with friends, and different models he would draw, and different artwork he was working on, days where he didn't feel like painting at all, days where he painted all day. So you see the ebb and flow of life and of the creative life when you read journals and letters like that. So yes, for me, it's very inspirational as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining. We've got a whole bunch of individuals that are jumping on. Tara, I hope I got that right. There's a lot of R's and a lot of H's in there, but hopefully I got that right. Thanks for jumping in and joining us. Again, I'm Seth Jones. I'm a lead instructor here and co-founder. We've got instructor and master draftsman Chad Nuss. The whole point of doing these VAAS live sessions is to have you engage with us, ask questions, ask technique. We had a couple of really great questions from Eliana and Avatar Angel. We've got wonderful stuff from Susanna. It's just been a fun evening, and we do these every Saturday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Next week, we've got artists Mitchell Kaufman and Charles Pate joining us. It's going to be a phenomenal experience. In the future, we're going to have Thomas Tupper join us as well. And we've got hopefully some other artists that are going to jump in and have some discussions and share it. But hopefully you have a sketchbook. Sit down and paint with us. Ask us questions. Let us know what we can do better potentially on our work. We're just really excited for all of this stuff. And we're hoping that you guys are just passionate about art the same way that we are, or maybe you'll develop a passion for the arts. Again, we're the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. We're going to be painting for another hour or so. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's so much fun. And Chad, I've got a lot of work to do if I'm going to get this door done. So I should probably dive back into this. It's getting there though, bud. It's starting to get there. If you guys want to, I'll pan around a little bit. I've got just a small section left going, and then this grisaille is going to be complete, or I think it's going to be complete. I might still have some areas that I want to work on the face and sculpt that out a little bit, but boy, we're finally getting there. We're getting close. And Chad, I'm feeling pretty good about it, bud. It's starting to pop a little bit for me.
Well, I'm excited to finally see you get into color at some point, because as you know, and as we joke back and forth, I hardly ever paint. To watch you paint and to see your technique and approach to painting is really intriguing. I feel like I'm watching like a season of. I thought to myself, Lost. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I love that show. The pilot episode is one of the best episodes of TV ever. I think the pilot it's aged now. It hasn't aged as well. But correct me if you guys are out there. The first episode of Lost was exceptional.
Yeah, and the other reason why I picked Lost is because when it first came out, I remember my wife and I, we couldn't wait for the next episode. I think it was before streaming. I could be wrong, but I think we waited every week for the next episode. Yeah. Things where like we talked through the week, we anticipated, we look forward to it. So yeah, I feel the same way about your painting. I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do next? What's the next step? And I've, as you know, I've asked you in person, like, okay, once this is done, then what do you do? Then what do you do? Because I'm very interested to see how this works. I've never seen it do the technique before. And so to see it firsthand is really exciting.
It's a really fun technique. I'm really excited for the glazes because essentially, as Chad's asking, kind of how does this work? Well, essentially, what it is that the gray tints, shades, and tones, they create all the value variation, right? They create our value because even without chroma, even without color, we have to have value, right, Chad? If we don't have value, you have blankness or you have blackness, right? You either have blankness or blackness. There's either nothing there or it's all there. So we have to have value. So the idea is that you do the grisaille in your full values. You get your darks, your lights, your medium grays. You get all these other things. And basically, when we go on and glaze on top, if I put, let's say I put a pink glaze on this shirt, the glaze that is pink will actually appear as a multitude of values. Does that make sense, Chad? And so
Yeah.
those glazes will appear, and then I can keep glazing on top to get variations. But the goal is that this underpainting just makes it that much stronger. It makes all the values pop, and then the glazes come together, and it really kind of starts connecting. We've got Chrissy Ames is on here. Hey, Chrissy. She says, hey, guys, I love Lost. Chrissy, we love Lost, too. Lost was amazing. It was such an exceptional show. We're so glad you're joining us. Chrissy is an amazing artist as well. It's awesome that you're joining us. Thank you for being here. Chad, you want to give her a quick shout out? You want to say hi to Chrissy?
Yeah, hello, Chrissy. I do have a guilty confession that we never watched the final season.
Okay,
so
all right.
I don't know how it ended, and I'll be honest with you. Do what now?
I didn't either. I never finished the last season because I got so frustrated.
Same with us. We're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? So like, yeah, we never watched the last season, so I have no idea how it ended. And I just remember when the final episode aired, seeing so many people trash it, of just being so frustrated with it. And so I kind of lost the desire to watch it. But I loved so many seasons of that. It was so good. Like,
yes,
especially when they went into the others. I
yes,
think that's what they called. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. And yeah, so there was a lot of amazing things to show. Guilty confession is that I've not actually finished all of Lost.
Well, the same thing happened to me, which was, I guess because it was, I think you're right. I think it was before streaming. And I really enjoyed that show so much. And I loved all the characters, right? I love the character development. That's what I thought made it so great. And, what was hard for me is when the bashing came out, it was like, well, I guess I better not watch it because I loved what I watched. I didn't want to leave so angry. I think the modern version of that, Chad, might be Game of Thrones. So many people loved Game of Thrones. And then that final season, so many people are like, oh, what a waste. I just wasted 6 years of my life watching this series. And I think maybe the new series, I haven't watched it yet. I think, what is it? Do you know what it's called? It's House of the Dragon, I think. Apparently that's saving some people. Or, the opposite of that, which you got me hooked on this, is Rings of Power. I was really disappointed with the beginning of Rings of Power because I've been such a huge Lord of the Rings fan for so many years, waited in line to go see the movies with my cousins and everything. And it was a spectacular experience. And not only that, I've now had my wife watch them for the first time, and I've shown her all the behind the scenes from the Lord of the Rings DVDs, which as an artist, Chad, was like, wow, the Holy Grail. Getting to see, all these other artists, John Howe and all the other guys doing their artwork, doing their craft, building trees, building sets. I'm sitting there as a young artist going, this is amazing. You mean I could do this someday? I could be a part of something like this? The craftsmanship, the love, the passion. So I love the movies, but I love what they call the appendices in the back behind the scenes kind of stuff even more.
I felt the same way, especially about Rings of Power. I saw so many people just praying on just say how bad it was. And for the same thing, when I first started, I could not get into it. And then I just forced myself to get through the first couple episodes, and then I loved it. I just kept thinking about it, kept watching it, and now I'm up to date on it, and I look forward to the future of the show. So, I know. And I know some people just think that probably like that's sacrilegious, especially if they're like super hardcore Lord of the Rings fans. But just there's probably some things that are not right or not canon or whatever, but it doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter to me. So I like
I guess a nerd in nerddom, which I'm a huge fan of, so I don't mean that any kind of maliciously. I mean that genuinely with love. I guess it's kind of how Star Wars has divided people over the last few years, right? I mean, it's kind of been that same kind of challenge of, is it good? Is it bad? Is it not good? But I will tell you, if we're talking about shows and artistry, I absolutely loved the new version called Skeleton Crew. I thought it was absolutely great. And it just reminded me of good old school kind of, a hybrid of Star Wars lore, but with the Goonies. And I grew up where Goonies never say die. And I just thought it was great. But I love the opposite spectrum of that, which was Andor, Chad, which was a much more adult, more serious, more dark tone, dealing with heavy thoughts and theories. And so, but it's one of those things where as an artist, I love things that are incredibly well done and well made. And that artistry, if you're an artist out there are careers out there that you can get involved in. That doesn't mean you have to be a gallery painter, right? It doesn't mean you have to do that. You can get involved in creative ways and do a lot of wonderful things as an artist, that maybe weren't available a long time ago. Or maybe it's just changed, Chad. Maybe it's just changed a little bit in the way that these things work. But some of these TV shows are just absolutely brilliant, and they're pieces of artwork in their own right. Like Blade Runner 2045.
Oh, man. I think it's 2049.
Or 20, yeah,
oh, come on, man.
I know. Get it right, Seth. Gosh dang it. I know it.
I can't do this live. I'm not.
Well, eventually we need to get just like, one of those fact checkers, like one of those behind the scenes people that's like, oh no, Seth, you said that wrong. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. Eventually we're going to have to get somebody there. Any interns that want to jump in and Google stuff for us on the background and double check. In fact, please come in and join us. We'll gladly welcome it, because as we continue to get older, I can't recall anything, guys. So we'd love to have you come in and run that for us.
I just have to get some water.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, this is cruising. I'm cruising down here, guys. Tell me what you think of the painting. Is it really starting to come together, or am I losing it a little bit? I think it's getting there. I think we're getting close. And Avatar Angel, I don't know if you're still with us or not, but thanks for the advice. You're welcome. We are so excited. This is what we love. I'm not saying it's right or accurate. Sometimes, we just kind of give our thoughts out there. Hopefully that helps with some of your artist block or some of the challenges that you've had. And we would love to have you come and see the studio soon. I really hope you get a chance. Guys, we are so fortunate. We have multiple classrooms here. We've got a lounge and reception area. Chad's working upstairs in his studio space with our second floor gallery and life drawing session and drawing area. It really is a wonderful space to be in and to be involved in. If you haven't been here, come check it out. I think you'll be blown away. You'll see that this is a space for creatives to thrive. And it's a place that me and you get to thrive, Chad. And it's exhilarating, I think, to like you said in the very beginning of this live stream, it's just a special place. It really is.
Yeah. It was so fun when my daughter said one day, it's the greatest place on earth. I mean, she literally said that, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of this. She was genuine, loved being here. So it is a special place for sure.
Look, if we can beat out Disney World, I think we're doing something right, buddy. I think we're in a good state if we can beat out Disney World. But it is one of those things where I think part of it is, who are you surrounded by, right? The building is just a building. The space is just a space. Yes, it's awesome to have it. It's great to have it. It's wonderful. But I think the real joy and the real love comes from, who are you surrounded by? Are you taking a painting class, a 2-hour painting exploration with your best friends, your girlfriends, your family members, your mother and your daughter? We have a wonderful event coming up for a Galentine's event. We're going to have over 30 sets of mother and daughters in here having an amazing art experience. And I'm so excited for that. Are you coming in isolated, being a unique individual, and now you're finally surrounded by other artists that understand your passion for Japanese fashion? Let me tell you, that's a new one for me. I had not experienced that before. And yet, we've had a couple of students come in, and it's just unbelievable to see that they have the same exact passion for these niche areas of Japanese fashion. And Chad, I mean, I'm out of touch with it, but how cool was it to see them light up? I mean, how cool was it that they found a connection in this space? And I think it's not about the building. It's about what you're learning and who you get to learn with.
Oh, yeah. It was like one of those moments where it was kind of catch-22 because definitely felt old and out of touch.
Yes.
and they started like complimenting each other and saying words I'd never heard of from like manga culture and all that. And it brought so much joy, but then like poignant, like, oh, I'm old now. I have no idea.
Well, I had a student, you're talking about that. I had a student in one of my young kids' drawing classes, and I play music because we like to play music sometimes in the drawing sessions. And I played a piece of music from Aladdin, right? Which to me is just like, a couple of years ago. And one of the 5 or 6 year olds reached out and they go, "Oh, Mr. Seth, this must be from like the 90s. It's old." And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, I'll find some more contemporary music for you guys. We'll get some more contemporary music going. Jimena, thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping on. How exciting that you're joining us here. This is our VAAS live session. We've got a lot of people ask us questions, jump in, dive in. Chad and I are talking about how some of our students' culture, their awareness, their music choices, we're disconnected sometimes because you have these new generations that are doing amazing things, but ultimately they're connecting with like-minded artists here at the Academy. And that's part of what this live stream is. It doesn't matter if you're here locally, guys. It doesn't matter if you're abroad. It doesn't matter if you're in Europe or South America or who knows where. You get to be a part of some painting, and I hope you have your sketchbook out. I hope you have a canvas out. I hope you're doing some fun stuff, working on these pieces while Chad and I work on our pieces. And Chad, right now with your piece, where are you at? Oh, happy to be here. Well, thanks for being here, Jimena. We're so glad you're here also, along with everybody else. Thank you guys for jumping on. It's been an amazing, slightly over an hour. We've got a lot of painting to do and some exciting stuff to still talk about. So thanks for joining us. But Chad, how's the drawing going? Where are you at? I see some unique things happen there. I'm going to put you full screen so you can talk about what that is, because that looks pretty amazing, bud.
Well, thank you. I have no idea what I'm doing, so that's always fun. But this is this area here is a cluster of very large boulders. So I'm trying to really define this edge a bit because I want it to stand out from the background. So that's why I've been putting in some darker tones around that edge there, because this front side is catching the light from the lightning. So this boulder is going to be very bright on its front edge there, but then as it kind of twists around, it's going to get very, very dark. And that's also going to help distinguish the different boulders, because one of the dangers of doing too many boulders and too much detail is that it all just gets lost together. So I'm trying to create a delicate balance of lots of detail, lots of different tones and things like that, without it getting muddled and lost and everything. So as far as the actual, what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to put in some texture as well with the boulder, especially up in this area. And when you look at a boulder or a rock in a photograph or in real life, you'll notice that it's really a lot of abstracted little crevices and different planes and lots of just tiny details that really, it's just a matter of trying to capture what that is. It's not about taking a rock and drawing every little crevice. It's trying to capture the texture of a rock. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So it can be slightly intimidating because, you put in all this work, put in all this graphite, and if at the end it doesn't look like a rock, then you've got some work to kind of clean it up a little bit. But I think I'm feeling pretty confident that I should be able to get it where I need it to go. But I'm working between graphite and charcoal. Vine charcoal does not play very well with graphite, so I'm also mixing a charcoal pencil, which helps with some of that. For whatever reason, the vine charcoal, if it's on top of graphite and you try to smudge it, it just basically like erases it. Like it doesn't hold the paper because it's on top of this graphite, which is very smooth, and it doesn't have anywhere to really latch on. And I like using the graphite because I can get into a lot of details with the crevices and all that about the rocks. But I like the charcoal because of the flexibility of tone and the blending that it does. Very nice and light, subtle tone variation. So it's just a dance between the two mediums and just being careful how they mix together. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but working with that charcoal has been a little bit of a new experience for you, right?
Yeah, not until this past year really get into charcoal, and now it's my preference. I absolutely love charcoal, and I didn't tell you this, but I just ordered off Amazon some of that. What do you call the charcoal dust, or
Yes.
what's it called? I forget what it's
Graphite
called.
powder?
Yeah,
Or
that's it.
charcoal powder.
Yeah, charcoal powder. And I ordered a jar of it, and then some of the blenders with the little rubber bits to kind of like smooth it out over the paper. So I'm really looking forward to like experimenting with that, and already have ideas of some artwork that I want to try with that. But right now the priority is getting this huge thing done. But I do look to playing around with that and see what other effects I can achieve with it. So yeah.
Well, and Chad, would you want to show us some of your pieces? I don't know if you're able to. Would you want to show us some of your pieces that you've worked in from the life drawing sessions? Would you? I don't know if you're able to pull those out and show those. But when we're talking about exploring new mediums, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you got to push yourself and you got to try some new mediums. And during our Thursday night drop-in drawing sessions from 6 to 8 p.m., where we have different models come in, Chad's done some amazing work. He's done everything from very loose gestural sketches to some pieces that were over an hour long. He did some coloring work. We had a very special visitor this past Thursday, which I thought was pretty spectacular, but that's just me. I might be a little biased here. But he did some amazing color work there, and he's done some other pieces. And I think it's interesting because, as Chad was just mentioning, it really wasn't his forte for a while, but putting in the work, as he says, putting in the work, doing some of the projects, getting involved with it and diving into it, it's really been something that he's grown exponentially in and has preferred it in some cases. So take a look at these guys, Chad. Once you give me the thumbs up here, I'm going to take you full screen, and you guys can see some of these drawings and charcoal drawings and renderings that he's been working on lately outside of his big pieces. And I think you guys are going to be blown away. So stick around just a little bit longer here. Don't go anywhere. Chad's going to show us some of these pieces here in just a second. And we're so grateful. I can't wait to see what you guys think. So get your comments ready. If you are enjoying the session, please give us a like, follow, a share. It helps. Give us a comment. Give us those follows. It gives us a chance to reach out and expose some of the talks and the sessions to more and more people. So we're so glad you guys are here. Chad, you about ready to show us some of this work, brother?
I'll show a couple things. Yeah, so this one isn't particularly new, but this is one of the early pieces that I worked on in charcoal. And that is a portrait of my wife.
Wow.
And so I really love like all the you can get very loose with it and then go in and define some areas. So I really loved working on that. I've got a couple as far as the gesture drawings. Let's see what we got here. I probably should have picked some of these out before. Here's that's just a quick one of you when you had what was that you were wearing the full,
it was Jon Snow. It was a Jon Snow costume. My wife went as the Mother of Dragons, and I went as nothing Jon Snow, which she reminds me of all the time. I know nothing. But yeah, you mean that was the best model we've ever had?
And then as far as like these are the gesture drawings that we're talking about, that you start with the vine charcoal, you do that. I also have some of these hanging up on the wall here. So we did.
That was a great sound. That sounded amazing.
Thank you. Rip it right off the wall. Got that one. I'll show you one more right here, and then I'll show you the other ones. So
guys, what do you think of these works? What do you think of Chad's drawings and sketches? What do you guys think? Let us know.
And then I got that one on the tone paper. Let me get that real quick.
Do you guys like them? Do you think they're good? It's a little different. It's different than some of the work that he normally does.
Yeah, so I did that one on tone paper with graphite and then the white chalk.
That is a very good looking man. That is a very handsome man. He has a big nose, but it fits his face well, I think.
And then for the color, yeah, I did the Wolverine there in the pastel. There you go.
See, Chad, honestly, if you can put that back up there real quick, if you don't mind, I
Yeah.
kind of want to talk about this for a second. And so I've thought a lot about this piece, and for a very specific reason, because Chad, you don't consider yourself a painter, right?
Yeah, correct.
So Chad does not consider himself a painter, guys. But what I think is interesting about this piece is that it's very painterly. His ability to stay loose with the medium, find nice blocks of color, and develop form out of those blocks of color is definitely a very painterly effect. And so it's just a difference in controlling that medium through a handheld device like a crayon or a pastel, or doing it with a brush. And I think it's amazing how painterly and loose and beautiful that sketch is. Now, I'm a huge fan of Wolverine, and I think it's beautiful because, there's nothing better than the blue and yellow costume, and it's phenomenal. But I think painterly and technique-wise, Chad, that's one of your biggest pushes I've seen you do in the last 2 to 3 months. And it's so painterly that I think it's hard to go, you put a brush in your hand, you're going to achieve the same thing. Does that make sense? And I think that's a great thing for people to see, that it's not so tightly rendered. It's loose. It has energy. It has motion. Like Farmer Fox says, thank you, Farmer Fox, for joining us, and thanks for the comment. He goes, it looks good. Charcoal, I find, is a tricky medium. What do you think, Chad? Is charcoal a tricky medium?
I think the pastel is very tricky because you're dealing with tones and colors. But I feel like charcoal, it can be tricky, but I feel like you have a lot of flexibility with charcoal. So I love that it makes me a very loose artist when I use charcoal. And then I have to bring in some graphite to get really nice and tight. But I love charcoal just for that very reason.
But I think, I think it's Farmer Fox. I hope I got that right. Farmer Fox, to his comment, if you haven't learned how to work loose, it's intimidating as all get out, right? I mean, it is very scary when you're used to a very fine pencil rendering, or, other mediums, color pencils or pen and ink. When you go over to charcoal, it's a whole different experience. Even if you're using charcoal pencils, right? It can be very intimidating. And I think a tricky medium in the sense that it's just like any other medium, you have to work at it to gain a mastery of it, right? I was literally explaining this to a painter who's with me. Farmer Fox says exactly, and I happen to agree. I have a painter right now that's doing an oil painting session with me, Farmer Fox, and they've only ever worked in acrylics. And the comment, literally, Chad, you were here for it, a couple hours ago, right behind me, right over here. They literally said, it's just very different than acrylics. And they didn't say it in a defeated way. It's just an acknowledgement of, I have to learn how to work with this medium because I've been so used to working in this other medium. And even though it's still painting, right, it's still the same process in a lot of ways. The technique and the texture and the thinning and layers, all of that is a very different process. Farmer Fox, I think that's a great comment. I think that's a great kind of talk starter, if you will. And Chad, I agree with you. I think you've got that balance of, it can be tricky. It can also be liberating. It can be exhilarating, and it can be intimidating all in one, right? It's not just these single little moments. It can be all encompassing. And I'm personally, I'm kind of in Farmer Fox. I get intimidated about charcoal because I have trouble loosening up. I mean, heck, look at this painting, guys. I have trouble loosening up. I would love to be a lot more painterly. And I think Thomas has been pushing me for years, Chad, to work more in inks, because once it's there, right? But then to also work more in charcoal because it will loosen me up and it'll force me to do things I don't normally do. So I think it's interesting, but I love that pastel work you did with Wolverine from the live drawing session. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I think it was so painterly, had so much energy. It was phenomenal.
I appreciate it. I have mixed feelings about it, so it makes me feel good that you like it so much. Like, there's some things about it that I feel like was successful, and then there's other things about it that I do differently. But it was a learning experience, so I know, like, the next time, those things I would do differently will. So that's the beautiful thing about trying something you've never done before. It might not turn out the way you want it to, and I'll be honest with you, it was really intimidating to try pastel in front of other people, because I've been experimenting a little bit with pastel, but it's been on my own. It's been in my garage. No one's seen it. So you feel kind of the freedom to make mistakes because you know no one's going to see the mistake.
Yep.
But when you do it here live, other people, they're going to see if there is a mistake. So when we finished the session, I felt like there were areas of that were very muddy and overworked. There was some parts of it where I couldn't put any more yellow on it because I was literally engraving the pastel because I put so much on the paper. So I would definitely have, done that differently. Some of the yellow, your costume had a bit of an orange tint to it with the light. And so I tried to recreate that, but my colors were all over the place. If I added if I added orange, it just got kind of brown and muddy. And if I put too much yellow in it, then it got real bright and neon. So it's a weird balance. And then that yellow, the shadow of the yellow is gray, but the only gray I had was a real light gray. And anytime I added gray to that yellow, it just muddied it up again. So I started using blue because I remember I forget there was one time where, it's a different, I was thinking of a different thing, but for whatever reason, it was inspiring me to use blue. Because I knew it would create kind of a green color.
Yep.
I didn't really like green, but at the same time, didn't want to prove yellow. And then I just kept reminding myself, when you use pastel, the colors don't have to be 100% matched. Like I'm not creating a photorealistic picture.
Right.
I'm creating an impression. So if it comes off a little green, that's fine. And some of the shadows I think worked. They ended up looking a little bit gray as it appeared in real life. So yeah, and I also feel like the face was very impressionistic, very, very loose, but it looked like your face. And I was really happy with that. But some other areas I was like, I don't know, I need a lot more work. But that's fine. That's what you do. The real loss would have been for me not to experiment with it at all. So
I agree.
I'm happy with that. So,
we got a comment there from Farmer Fox. I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, Chad. Are you able to see that one?
Yeah, we're using soft or hard pastel. I am so green. I have no idea what kind of pastel. I just bought the pastel pack, like the cheapest one at the store. Just I knew it was going to be an experiment. They come in. They're in the rectangular blocks, so I'm thinking they're hard pastel. I would assume the soft ones are usually in those cylinder paper, and you've got to unwrap them. Am I right? So yeah, I'm assuming it's hard pastel.
I think that you probably had, the harder pastels, and I apologize, I didn't even look at it. But I do kind of want to go back to something we were just talking about as I play with my growing mullet back here. Sorry, guys. Is that I think a lot of artists, and if you're watching and if you're listening, I think a lot of artists get intimidated when they have to do work in front of others. I think it's something that is kind of challenging at times, right? Because you're putting yourself out there. You're putting your emotion out there. You're putting your passion out there. But it becomes even harder when you may not have the confidence in the medium, right? It becomes even harder when you're like, boy, here's this. And I'll be honest, I'll share something with everybody that has been a challenge for the last 4 or 5 months, specifically here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio, is I've put this expectation of myself as an instructor to always be good, right? Yeah. Like I feel like I always have to do something well, or if I'm doing a demo, it's got to turn out right. Or if I'm doing an example, it's got to look great, or else, boy, I'm going to second guess whether or not I'm qualified or talented enough or knowledgeable enough to be these people's instructor. And even though I know I am, right, I'm very confident in my abilities and my communication abilities and my teaching abilities. But Chad, do you feel like there's an extra stigma or an extra level of challenge because now that we have this level of teaching and a level of I don't want to say a title per se, but it is kind of a title. Does that make it even more intimidating?
Oh, 100%. I mean, today in our figure drawing class, we're talking about foreshortening, and I mentioned this earlier. One of the girls in the class was like, "Hey, Chad, can you draw that for us so we can see how you do it?" And it was coming out complete trash because I was using fine charcoal to do a quick gesture drawing, and then I was trying to indicate foreshortening of this lake. The photograph, the person was sitting in the lake was coming right towards the viewer, and it was turning to the big mass, and the foot was out of proportion, and foreshortening in and of itself is already difficult. And then on top of that, to do it while people are staring at you, and then on top of that, the pressure of like, well, I'm the instructor, I should know what I'm doing if I'm telling you this, and there's just an inherent expectation you should be able to do it on the first try. And so yeah, you think all that stuff, and so I just told the girls, I was like, this drawing is not that good. However, if I had a little bit more time to work it, I would go back and I would shoot this, and this, and that's fine. And I told them, I said, I've been drawing 30 years. Foreshortening is still difficult. I still have to really concentrate. I still make mistakes. And if you have that grace and patience with yourself, I think that goes a long way towards the students, because then they don't feel the pressure to be able to draw as good as you or not make a mistake. If they see you make a mistake, it gives them so much freedom to make a mistake as well. So I have to constantly remind myself of that, because exactly what you said, there is a bit of a stigma that if you're instructing a class, you should know what you're talking about. And I feel like, I do have the confidence. I do know what I'm talking about. I am a good artist. I know that. But at the same time, like, I'm just like everyone else, and I'm going to draw something way out of proportion, way off. It's going to look horrible, but it's a challenge to do that in front of other people for sure.
Yep. Well, and I, you know what happens, and I've kind of created this mantra. It's been a mantra of mine for ever since I started teaching. My first year of teaching high school, way back when, I created the mantra that I was going to uphold to the saying, ancora imparo, right? Which I know if anybody speaks Italian, it's brutal. I've just butchered it. Please don't yell at me. I need my student who speaks like 3 different languages, 3.5, 4 different languages, and who's 8 years old and learning Japanese. I need her to come in and help me with my pronunciations. But ancora imparo, it just means still I am learning. And Chad, there's moments when I'm teaching and man, the demo's just not going the way that, because also too, you try to do it at an exponentially faster rate because you don't want the entire time to be you demoing it. You want to be able to get them going. So you're doing it upside down sometimes. You're doing it upside down. You're doing it, as fast as you possibly can. You're doing all these things. And I like Farmer Fox's statement here. It's all about the journey. That goes directly in line with what ancora imparo is. And ancora imparo is more than just still I am learning. It's the concept that in every moment, throughout life, throughout time, throughout stages, you're still learning and developing, right? It's not just, oh yeah, I just learned something new. It's deeper than that. It's more than that. It's about that journey, right, Farmer Fox? It's about that journey, that progression. It's about those elements of life that no matter how well you think you're versed in it or educated in it, you're still learning a new experience. And I love that story and the metaphor that even on Michelangelo's deathbed, I don't know if this is just a story or not, guys. I haven't studied it to that extent, but I love the story of it. So I choose to hold this story close to my heart, which is, one of the greats, they titled Michelangelo Il Divino, right? And I'm sure I'm saying that horrible. So again, but the divine one, right? Because he was so gifted and so talented, and he did so many works of art for the church and for, the holy concept that he was labeled the Il Divino, the divine one. And if he was a mathematician and a painter and a sculptor and a theologian, all these wonderful different things. And yet even on his deathbed, he looked to an assistant and said, ancora imparo, still I am learning. Because even in death, it's a learning experience, right? Or even to this point. And I like to think that maybe he was even expressing to his student, hey, remember that even in these moments, we can still learn something new. And I think when I have moments as an instructor and I struggle in class or I feel like I failed them, I remember that journey like Farmer Fox is talking about, and I remember ancora imparo, still I am learning, still I'm getting something new. And I think that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I always you get that fear as well as a teacher where, if you're doing a drawing or you make like a big mistake or you teach one thing and you realize later, oh man, what I said was wrong or whatever. I get that weird feeling of like, oh man, like what if the student finds out and then they don't come back?
Right.
Like
right.
it's irrational fear. Because
Yep.
then I have to remind myself, like, this probably sounds funny, but it's like they paid for the class, so they're coming back. But
Well,
but at the same time, like, what if I royally mess this up?
that's it.
But it's just so funny how your brain works. You know what I mean? It's like you have to have grace with yourself. You have to be patient with yourself. Like, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna say things that are not right. It's just like I told you the other day, we were talking to one of the young students, and her mom was here, and I said to them, you really have to have almost like an arrogant humility. And for whatever reason, after that conversation, that bothered me that I said that. And I think it was because the whole idea of being arrogant. I cannot stand when an artist is arrogant. I cannot stand that. But I think what I was trying to express for her was, because she's so shy, was it's like you have to overcompensate and be confident in who you are, but also remember that you're not the best at the same time. It's a weird kind of mixture. But anyways, I felt so bad that I said that. I thought about it like constantly for the rest of the day. And I even remember I asked you, I said, hey, did she come back? Did she come back to her class? And I was like, I thought I had scared her off because I was telling her to be. That was not the point of what I was trying to say. But your mind just plays like those games with you. And you just have to remember, like I said before, you just have to have grace with yourself and patience, that you're going to say things that are not right. But you can always come back and say, hey, that one thing I said, not the best way of saying it. I would probably have said it this way instead, or whatever. You know, like you've got to be forgiving to yourself and to others, because we're all going to misspeak at some point or make a bad drawing at some point. So.
Well, and you know what that means to me, and I've talked to you about this extensively at the different levels of teaching. If you don't think those things, or if you don't recall those things, if you don't process those things, I don't know if you care enough about your students.
Yeah.
Right. I mean that, because if you don't care to that level, you're not going to be like, oh man, I need to resolve that, or I need to restate that, or I need to work through that. And I even think, Farmer Fox has said another thing, man, Farmer Fox, you are nailing some of these one-line comments, man. You are just absolutely crushing it. I'm going to put it back up there for you, Shad. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it says, when you have all the answers, you don't grow. When you have all the answers, you don't grow. And I think, but as an instructor and as a teacher, and I hope that anybody that's enrolled here, whether you're a student, an adult, or a child, or a teenager, or whoever, or if you're even just a parent that watches these classes, I hope that you understand that our ultimate goal is for your positive experience, your growth, and even if we make mistakes, even if the demo doesn't turn out great, we have instructors here who are passionate about helping you along your artistic and creative journey. And we are going to make mistakes. We're not going to always do the best demos, or maybe like I just did, I'm going to ruin this line on this beautiful painting that I've been working on for months. And it's going to happen. But ultimately, when you care to that level, that's what makes your mind do those irrational. And I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's healthy or anything like that. But I think it's because we care so daggone much about the experiences that people get to have at this amazing academy and studio, that we want to always provide the highest level of knowledge and education. And I think, Chad, honestly, I think we're doing that. And I'm very proud of that, and I think Thomas is very proud of that. Zach and Michelle are very proud of that. I know that you're very proud of that. I know that Caitlin, my wife, who's unbelievably supportive of all of this, right? I mean, this would not happen without all of these team members and all these individuals involved, and even a lot of our friends and family, all of these people that have supported us through this journey to open up this academy and to be here. Every single person has that same singular goal and mindset. And I think you would agree with me. Do you agree with me with that, Chad?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody that's watching, that is the passion that you have to have if you want to help motivate and change young artists' careers or people's pathways. And if we ever lose that, if that is something that you ever are in a class or you go, man, you know what, Seth, you just didn't have it today. And that's okay. Some days you don't have it, right, Chad? Some days you don't have that high level of energy. Some days you're not there. And that's human. That's okay. But I think if any of our students ever question whether or not our intentions are to create a better artistic and creative journey for them, or to encourage them and motivate them, then maybe we got to find something else, right? And I used to joke all the time, and this is maybe like a I guess, what is it? Is it self-deprivation or whatever, where you kind of joke at your own expense? Yeah. And I used to say, like, they're like, oh man, on planes, I would travel a lot by plane, and I would do sketches on the plane within an hour and a half. And usually people sitting next to me be like, oh man, that's really good. You're really talented. How long have you been doing that? And I usually kind of joke, and I would say, well, long enough to where if I'm not doing it well, or if I'm not very good, I should probably find something else to do, right? Like, I should probably move on to something else, because if you've practiced this long and you don't get it right, maybe it's time to find a different hobby or a different passion. But I think the one exception is teaching. I think when you have a passion, it's always going to go well, even if you say the wrong thing, even if your demo doesn't work, even if you put a bad line or a bad stroke or whatever it is, you're going to always persevere through, and core to empower, you're still going to learn, and you're going to share that learning and that knowledge. And that's what makes great mentors. And Chad, I think our society has lost a lot of that concept of mentorship. What do you think? I think we've lost that concept of mentoring. I think we have some, but it's really kind of what, in business, maybe they talk about it in business, but outside of that, we've lost a high level of mentorship.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just think you're right about the business thing. You can find a lot of that, like, you flip through like Facebook Reels or whatever, you have like 1,000 people telling you, here's 10 ways to make money. Here's the 10 ways to make your business successful. Here's blah, 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 blah. Sign up for my seminar, blah, 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 right? So there's a lot of that. But as far as like true one-on-one, in-your-face, personal relationship, kind of apprenticeship type relationships, there's not a whole lot of that. And I thought about that, especially when I was younger, how that would have really helped me. Because when I went to art school, like many, many years ago, like in the late 90s, I was not ready for it. Emotionally, I was not ready for it. Physically, I was not ready for it. And if I had a mentor at that time who built into my life, I probably would have been ready for it. And so it is one of those things where as I get older, I'm 48. I'm honestly looking forward to my 50s, and the last stage of my life, because I want to be in a position to pour into younger artists for that very reason. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's so many people that need that older voice to come in and, help them and encourage them or correct them, guide them, all those things. So, I agree with you.
We're incredibly honored and blessed that you are pouring into the young artist here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studio. And we're excited for, hopefully, for you to continue to pour into young artists well into your 50s and as long as you want to. And we're going to do our best to make sure that these students have the most amazing experience. We're coming up on a little bit of time left, so I want to recap a couple of things. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Seth Jones. This is Master Draftsman and Instructor Chad Nuss. We're part of the Visual Arts Academy and Studio out of Louisville, Kentucky, teaching students of all levels, all skill levels, and all ages, the visual arts. And we have exciting stuff coming up in the coming months. We're in the middle of our 8-week art sessions. We have 4-week intro to art sessions. This coming Thursday, the 30th of January, 6 to 8 p.m., we have a drop-in drawing session with a phenomenal artist and ballet dancer. She's going to be a phenomenal reference model for you to do some quick 60-second sketches, 3-minute poses, 15-minute poses, and an hour-long pose. Natalie Schreiner is coming in, ballet dancer and wonderful artist. She's going to be modeling for us. Make sure you're here. Come and drop in and join us. But then this coming Saturday, a week from today, put it on your calendar, folks. Put it on your iPhone. Make a reminder for yourself. Chad and I are going to host artist Mitchell Kaufman out of New York, who's an amazing, amazing artist. He's a great writer. He's a great painter, great storyteller. He's also an amazing athlete and fitness instructor. He's a unique human being, and you will love him. He's got a phenomenal personality, a phenomenal energy, and a ton of knowledge. Not only that, his true mentor was someone who coached me up and mentored me as well. And I'm so excited for him to be involved. But that's not it. That's not the only guest we have. We also have Charles Pate, who's a phenomenal all-around artist. He does some of the most amazing paintings you're going to see. He's done some amazing portrait paintings. But I'm always constantly blown away because he's a man of many talents, and his sculpture, Chad, I think you were blown away by his sculpture as well. His sculpture is just absolutely superb, and he just does everything from children's books and comics, and he's just an exceptional artist. So it's going to be a round table of excellence, and I want you guys to be a part of it. So put it on your calendars. Not only that, we're moving into the spring sessions. Our new calendars are going to be posted pretty soon for our sessions here. And then, of course, you can always join us live. We've got about 15 minutes of painting. So get your questions in and let us know you're here. Chad, it's an exciting time to be part of this artistic community, and I hope everybody gets involved.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for next weekend to talk to these artists. I can't wait for the SCAD representative to come out. I can't wait for the summer. All the other plans that we have going on that we can't quite reveal yet. But I think is amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it. And, it's kind of bittersweet because part of me is looking forward to the future, but at the same time, I want to savor every single day right now because of our 8-week classes are going right now. And we're in our 3rd week. We're going into the 3rd week this week. And, it's been a really exciting time for sure.
And Chad, I am close to hitting my goal. We talked about different goals and how to break through some kind of blocks and things like that. I wouldn't say I necessarily had a block with this painting. I've just been overwhelmed with, running the academy and teaching my classes and all these other things that happen in life, some good, some really not so good. And that's okay. Things happen in life and we persevere through them. But I think that my goal was to finish this grisaille this evening. And it's the first time I've gotten to paint on this at any length of time. I'm not saying I'm not going to touch this up, but Chad, bud, I'm almost done with this grisaille here. It's coming along. I've got a couple little spots left, and I think I might be ready to hopefully not mess this up with some glazes and some color overlays. And I think it's going to be an amazing experience. This is the first time I've done a grisaille of this scale, of this size. This is 30 by 40, so it's relatively big for me, especially doing a portrait. I don't do a lot of portrait work because I always want to do portraits of people that I'm very close to. We've talked at length about this. Go watch some of our previous live session, guys. I think it's incredibly challenging to paint portraits of people you love because there's so much more to that personality, and it's very hard to capture all of that. And this happens to be one of my 3 amazing, gorgeous daughters, and I want to make it capture the essence of my beautiful Cora Lily. And I've got it. I've really decided that the question or the conundrum of this painting is she holding up the wall or is the wall holding her up? And if I can get that resolved, that it looks and feels as if she's holding that wall up, I will have achieved that. And I've got my good values. I've almost got it completed here, bud. And I feel really, honestly, really pretty confident about it. I feel pretty good about it.
I am impressed because I'll be honest with you. I've been so focused on my drawing right now that when I looked at it earlier, it was still a big square of yellow. And then I look over and it's almost done. You're finishing up right now. So I am very impressed.
Well, it actually, it's funny you say this because every time I go to work on something of this size, I was going to come to this big white section that still needed to be covered. And I was going to come over with my small, tiny, teeny little brush that I was doing these vertical lines on the molding, right? And I hear Alvarez in my head screaming at me, "You're painting a big section. Use a bigger brush." Don't go and paint this big section with this small, tiny little brush. Get the bigger brush out. Go and fill that space. Get it there. And so sure enough, guys, I went in and I picked out a nice size 10, and it definitely got a lot more coverage than this little guy here, right? And so your brushes do make a difference in your ability to get the painting done. So I was definitely glad and proud of myself to switch over to that brush. And I'm really pleased with it. I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do? Since I'm kind of wrapping up here, we've only got a few minutes. I'm going to take this camera off, and I'm going to show you guys the entire painting because a lot of you have seen this come to fruition from the beginning to the end. And so let's see if I can do it like this. Let's see here. So there is the full.
Man, amazing.
That is the full grisaille.
That's awesome.
And it is in itself, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge achievement for me as an artist. And I've mentioned this to a few people. This will kind of be my last little, pontification, if you will. I really am excited for this piece because I feel like I've really achieved certain techniques that I've never achieved before. I've been able to render, Chad makes a comment about some of these feet. I've been able to render the feet and the forms of the feet better than I probably ever have. I took my time and continue to rework the face, and I could probably still work on it some more. But when you do a piece and you feel confident and you feel comfortable, I think that's a huge success. And you really got to revel in them and enjoy them, because there are many days, Chad, right? We talk about this a lot. There are many days when you get there and you go, oh, man, this just isn't working. It's just not happening. I'm not feeling confident in it. So when you do have a day where you feel good about something, enjoy it. It's okay to enjoy it. It's okay to be excited. It's okay to be happy with it. Enjoy that. That's part of the creating process, right, Chad? It's part of what we talk about. We are called to create and to be creators. And this is a beautiful moment, and I want everybody to enjoy it with me, because, boy, when it works and it's there, it's a fun, wonderful, positive experience. And I'm honestly incredibly grateful that I got to share it with all of you.
Man, I tell you what, when you finish the color and finish, I almost feel like have a celebration. Like, oh, I don't know, open a bottle of sparkling apple cider or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, I do, actually, because this is something I've always dreamt of. It goes back to, again, I share a lot of stories, and I said that was kind of my last little pontification, but Alvarez was very upset with me when I decided to do my master's degree in sequential art and not painting. And I think I've shared this in a little video short that I created called "You Are a Painter." And Alvarez he wasn't yelling or screaming. I told him, I said, Alvarez, I'm going to pursue storytelling and sequential art. And he just looked at me and he goes, "But you're a painter. But you're a painter."
Yeah.
And so I almost feel like this is 20 years in the making. Because yes, I've painted before, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I haven't done, some pieces that are well or haven't been good. But this is the first time I really feel like, man, I'm how do I say it? Firing on all cylinders, right? I'm really doing something that maybe he would be proud of, that Professor Cummings would be proud of, that even in full honesty, I'm intimidated of stuff as all heck having Charles and Mitch join on next week. I'm intimidated, guys. They've been amazing painters for the last 20, 25 years. These are guys that are painters, that are legitimate painters, that are superb. And I actually almost feel like, I finally have something that both of these wonderful men will look at and go, yeah, Seth, man, you did it. You nailed it. That's good. You know what I mean? And that's a sense of joy that to me is rare, I think. When you have the pride of people that you have respect for, and you uphold them as masters of their craft, and you think, and maybe I don't, maybe they don't like it, but I feel very confident in the fact that they're gonna be happy with this piece, and they're gonna be proud of their friend and their colleague for doing something that has pushed himself further than he ever thought he could go. I will say, if I know Mitch at all, I don't know if he would ever tell me. We were teammates, and here's a funny side note for you. I was a goalie in college in lacrosse, and both Mitch and Charles were defenders for me. They were defensive men. And you want to talk about feeling protected. Those two gentlemen were unbelievable. They protected me better than anybody could have ever imagined. They took shots. They didn't have hardly any of the padding on. They stood in front of shots and protected me when I was hurt, when I was injured. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life, being a part of a team with these two guys. And now to get to come back and share our academy and our passion with art at a different level, it's a dream come true. It is absolutely a dream come true. And they're unique, and they're powerful individuals, and they're powerful artists. And Chad, I think you're going to enjoy talking with them. I think they're going to provide a lot of insight to a lot of our listeners, and it's going to be a great experience. Did we lose you there, Chad? Are you still with us?
I'm focused over there. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my goodness. So I'm so sorry.
How dare you break my concentration?
I know it. I know it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got just a few more minutes here. We're going to wrap up in just a little bit. So if you've got a comment, a question, if you want to give us some feedback on where our paintings currently are, now's the time to do it. We're going to be working really hard with our classes this week with all of our students. Please follow us on our social media. Give us some likes, shares, some love, some follows. We love it when you guys get involved. Thank you to all of the comments and questions today. Everybody was amazing. Farmer Fox. We've got Eliana, Jimena, Avatar Angel. We've got Susanna. We've got all kinds of other individuals throughout. If I forgot you, please accept my apologies. But we had so many wonderful people comment today. It's amazing how this community is going. We've got just a couple more minutes, and then we'll be wrapping up for the evening.
So when your grisaille dries, what color are you going to start with?
I keep thinking I'm going to start with this big, bold pink sweater.
Nice.
Because I feel like, at least my current thinking, that's a great question, actually, Chad. My current thinking is that the pink sweater is the biggest, boldest color that's going to be on this painting, right? It's the biggest, boldest color. Everything else is like more neutrals, right? The wood floor is more of a neutral red-brown. The carpet's a beige. All the book shelving, the white here, you know, her hair's dark. So the biggest, boldest color that I'm going to have is this bright, well, it's not really bright pink, but it's going to be a pink shirt and / sweater that she has. And so I think that's going to affect all of the surrounding colors, right? So by doing that one first, it's going to allow me to see how that color bounces off of everything else. And I think that's going to be really important for me to make sure that the color palette is a unified palette. And because what I don't want to do is I don't want to have, you know, this stark, bright color overly dominate and overly destroy the colors of everything else around it, right? But I want it to be utilized as a focal point. So I'm going to go, I think, with that pink first, and then maybe the flesh tones. Let that pink radiate up to her face, her neck, her cheeks, and let that color kind of translate into some of the flesh tones. But that's my current thinking. We'll see if that's where I go or not. Boy, this is fun, isn't it, Chad? This is just a phenomenal 2-hour experience we get to experience together and with a whole bunch of people. Any closing thoughts for us here, Chad, before we wrap it up for the day?
No, not really. Today was a great day. It was a very long day for both of us, and we were very excited to serve our students here today. And I love to end the day this way with some live drawing. And I love spending time with you, and it's a great conversation, so I always appreciate it. And I look forward to next week for sure.
Well, guys, I don't think anybody says it better than Chad when he wraps it up like this for us. Thank you guys so much for joining the Visual Arts Academy and Studio Live. We look forward to seeing you next week. We've got so many wonderful things happening in the coming weeks and the coming months. We're excited for you to be a part of it. Give us a like, follow, a share. Don't forget, be creative. Art is for everyone. Art is for you. We look forward to painting and drawing with you soon. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.